I mean, this conversation, man, we could be here all day. Like, this is just refreshing. So I want to go back to you, Dr. Sallah. You talked about facing challenges, to just kind of transition from the questions Annette asked the girls. Um, you also mentioned something about rejections, right? Do you mind to share what that was like for you? What challenges specifically did you face, right? In terms of those rejections you discussed earlier.
Um, so I guess initially my rejections were mainly, I guess, for scholarships to go and study. Um, it's always quite hard to take in because you start to question your own abilities. You start to question, how good you are, whether you're good enough. But the one thing about me is I always use those as lessons, and I always make sure to seek. So Professor Njie mentioned something that's key: mentorship. But mentorship really is a two-way street, and you have to actively want to be mentored as well. So I always made sure I would seek advice from people who I felt knew better than me, and from people who I trusted enough to be vulnerable with, you know. And I would ask them how to improve myself, or what things I needed to do to make myself a better candidate for something. So I mean, I remember just before I had the PhD opportunity for Cambridge, I was rejected for an MRC scholarship to do a master's, right after my undergrad. And one of my other colleagues, who was exceptionally bright too, he got that offer instead. And he went on to do his master's in bioinformatics. And I was still at the MRC that year. And just a couple of months after, I was awarded a PhD offer from Cambridge. So, what I'm trying to say is, in hindsight, um, always use those rejections as lessons, and continue persevering. There are always other opportunities. There's many to go round, and just make sure you're prepared for whatever's to come your way.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Dr. Njai, coming back to you now. Um, Obviously, growing up in Gambia, in a culture, as I stated earlier, is very male dominant, right? As we all know, this is no secret, where we have a lot of young girls who at times are given into marriage at a very, very young age, right? And for some reason, just because of our traditions and the way we are raised, these are things that, for whatever the reasons are, we don't quite talk about, right? These are the difficult conversations, though, that I personally feel we need to start having, right? In terms of talking about STEM, right? Being able to inspire young girls to take the path of education, right? So my question is, for a girl that's facing that kind of challenge, right? What ways can we as a society um, implement to kind of take away those roadblocks so our young girls are not put in that predicament anymore? If you could speak on that, please.
Thank you for that question. That's a very, very pertinent question. I part of the research that I was doing on liver cancer and screening for liver cancer took me up country. I used to go from the MRC where I was based to do monthly outreach clinics in Kiang, Keneba, in Farafenye in the North Bank region, in Bansang, and Basse, all the way to Medina Samako and beyond. And many a time when I did these clinics, I saw these very, very young girls, you know, with who had been mothers, like they were teenagers and they were in their third pregnancy. And it really broke my heart. I remember seeing this young lady will never leave my memory. I just remember this young lady who came with her sister. The sister was sick and was brought to see me. She was maybe, I don't know, 20, had a baby. And the younger sister came to translate because she spoke English. She was going to school. And I remember asking her what she wanted to be after. And she was like, well, I would like to be a nurse, but I don't know if I'll be allowed to be a nurse because my sister here started school, and before she reached where I am, she was taken to get married. And she said, I am really afraid the same thing will happen to me. So, and I remember telling her about the Starfish International, because I know that there are schemes here which aim to keep young girls in school by doing after school outreach. So Starfish is one that's really, really impressive, and they have chapters throughout. So the girls that are mentored at Starfish would then go back to their villages and set up Starfish chapters and try to support their peers. Now, often when they go back, they find that their peers have become mothers and some with complications, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a tough one to crack. And I think we can only do it via education. If we can keep girls in school, they're less likely to be married off early. They are more likely to have a desire to do something, to work, to have a career. And by supporting that, I think slowly we will make a dent on this early child marriage. So education for me is key. You know, that is the key that will, and I think we have seen from around the world, from Western countries, Far Eastern countries, that as girls become more and more educated and more empowered, they get married later, you know, and are able to have a career and a family. So, yeah, so I think education is key.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the detailed response there. By the way, shout out to Mami Yasin Sar.
Mhm.
She is the, I believe, the founder of Starfish. Obviously, Starfish is doing an amazing job in the Gambia. So definitely, if you're out there, you know, you want organizations to support, that's one organization that you could also support in addition to sponsoring a Gambian girl. So, I mean, I think that is important for, you know, foundations as such to link together in partnership and collaborate, right? Because at the end of the day, the objective is to empower young girls. You know, I know it's almost ironic, you know, me sitting here as a man, you know, advocating for the education of young girls. That it's important that we do that, right? Because of the disparity in our culture, right? That is not to say that young boys are not equally as important, but I think that putting emphasis and educating our young ladies, you know, to and empower them to be able to negate some of these issues that we're dealing with. You know what I mean? Because young boys, for instance, are enforced into marriages. You see what I'm saying? So when we look at the adverse implications of certain traditions that we do practice, is detrimental to the development of our future leaders, right? And we see even without, you know, we don't want to talk about politics, but you know, just looking at the political framework and standing within our society, like I think we should be at a place now where women should be in leadership in the Gambia. Perhaps there might be some change. We've tried men leading for a while, and we're still in the predicament that we're in. So more power to all these ladies that are stepping up and just doing the right thing and encouraging and inspiring. Dr. Sallah, Dr. Njie, you folks are just amazing. You know, I'm a husband and a father of 6 children. 3 of my children are girls. You know, and it's just equally as important for young girls to be empowered. So thank you for sharing these stories. Anita, I'm a transition to you right now.
Yeah.
If you have any other questions within the comments.
Yeah, so we are winding down now. We're almost coming to the end. We don't want to keep all these busy ladies from their Saturday evenings, and the girls as well. So we are winding down. But one of the thing is making an impact. Everything that we do, want to make an impact and to have a legacy. And science, I think, is one of those areas that can give you that opportunity. I'm sure every area can, but science definitely, we can underestimate what it does for society. So Dr. Sallah, can you just tell us what has science enabled you to do to leave an impact in society, to make an impact and to make a difference? What is that?
I think even without realizing, when I had joined the MRC unit, just the little that I was doing to, diagnose causes of illness itself was having impact, on a small scale. So this is mainly done by people called lab technicians, and they were the ones, well, we were at the time, who would support the doctors. So without lab techs, so for instance, now in a time of COVID, without the lab, we wouldn't be able to get anywhere in terms of knowing what people are infected with and how it's being transmitted. So it was a huge support to our public health system. And now through my research, I'm able to generate knowledge from all the studies that I'm doing, even when it's on a very basic scale. So a basic scale meaning just understanding, where disease is coming from, or understanding how diverse we are as a population, because all these things in the long term will have an influence on public health. So I think one of the things that I constantly remind myself is if I'm not having impact today with my research, it will come maybe 10, 20 years in the line, And thirdly, the ability to share my knowledge with others and strengthen, our health system, whether it's via talking to students or consulting for larger organizations or even smaller organizations, or even speaking to young people, because that inspiration itself will have an impact, down the line as well. So, yeah.
Right. And Professor Njie, of course, can you share your impact? I know you have dozens of them, but what's that one thing that you say, yes, this is what I've contributed to society and is going to live on? Yeah.
So I play dual roles as a clinician, as a frontline doctor, as well as a researcher. So I think there is nothing that beats the feeling of actually having somebody who is really sick, especially people with liver disease and then come bleeding, and then you put a stop to it, you make them better, and they walk out. So practicing medicine is one of the things that I think has allowed me to impact many lives, not just in Nigeria, but also in the UK and back here in the Gambia. So that's one aspect. In research, I set up a research program, which was the first of its kind in sub-Saharan Africa, which was a population-based research project to look at whether we can go out and screen for hepatitis and then treat it in order to prevent liver cancer, which kills more Gambian men than all other cancers. I think that has led to us now having, as a direct consequence of that research, the impact is that we are going to try and set up a project that will eliminate this virus from our country by the year 2030. So that's something we're actively working on. And of course, I've worked with WHO and many other organizations, but really it is a privilege, and it is to do the job that I do because I love what I do. And it is a privilege to be able to mentor many, many, many young girls and women in science as well as medicine. Yes, I think it has been impactful on me and also on society, and long may it continue. I am hoping that even though I am the first female professor of medicine and the first female provost in the UTG, I most certainly will not be the last. And looking at Fatima and Oumie there, I can see great potential, leaders of the future. So that's where I leave it. Thanks.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, as Kamala Harris said, I might be the first, but I won't be the last. Yes. So, ladies, to our two girls, Oumie and Fatima, you've heard what Dr. Sallah and Professor Njie have said about how science is, giving them that opportunity to make an impact in different ways. How do you envisage that when you're in that science field, what have you envisaged that you would achieve and what impact would you have in your community? We start with Fatima.
Being a doctor will help you contribute a lot in this society, as there are many health problems in our societies. With your knowledge, you can be able to treat them with the required medicines. Raising awareness through campaign, this will help educate people of things they do and the impact it may have on their health issues. In our societies, most of the problems and concepts they have towards science is always negative. This is due to the strong traditional values and the strong cultural beliefs they have. They believe that science has done more harm than good, which is obviously wrong. With the help of the knowledge, I will create a sensitization forum to educate them about science and its benefits to we human beings.
Wow. What's your reaction to that, Dr. Sallah? Just a short one.
Amazing. You're so bright.
Great. And Oumie, how have you want to be a mental health expert? How do you see that impacting society, the Gambia, and the world? You never know where your work will go. So how do you envisage that to be?
Well, science is an ever-expanding field with network of more possibilities for future growth and development. And I decided to study science because I believe that if science gives us the solutions to our everyday problems, I believe that being in the mental health sector, I can help more. I envision that being in science field, I can help raise funds to help people, because being a doctor does not mean that you're paid well. It means that just you help people more. And I believe that I can help people in different ways. Being in science and being a doctor does not only mean that you save life. You can do many things to help people, and I envision to do more being in the science field.
Yes, that's amazing. Yes, that's amazing. We're here rooting for you girls. We're here to support you. Of course, Dr. Sallah and Professor Ramou has said time and time again, that word keep coming up: mentorship, mentorship, mentorship. It's just shown how your career has been guided by people that have pushed you, encouraged you, show you the way. And that is what we're here today to do for these girls. Push them and say, your realities right now at home might not match where you want to be. But if you are determined and if you seek the right mentorship, you can achieve whatever you want to achieve. And that is very important. We want to instill that to you, Oumie and Fatima, and all the other young girls that are watching out there, that no condition is permanent and we can change any situation that we want. Anything that we want, we can change it by persevering, overcoming the challenges, and never saying no to what you're facing right now, and knowing that there is always a bright future.